The Jersey Swap podcast is sponsored by Apollo Home. Keep your house cool with a $29 HVAC cooling tune-up from Apollo Home. Also, just for CST listeners, Apollo Home is offering a $1,101 off a new AC unit. That's right, $1,101 off. Folks, that's CST's gift just for you. Give Apollo a call, send them a text, or schedule online at apollohome.com. Jersey Swap is also sponsored by Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS, MLS Next, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Hey, welcome back to the Jersey Swap podcast, folks, where we're always willing to look at both sides of the argument. We try to reach across the aisle when we can, and that's as far as the political talk will go. It's appropriate for right now because we've got DC United coming in, so the district is well represented. So let's talk about soccer in that area today. We have Gregory Roche from Pitch Pass to join us. Hey, Gregory, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we had tried to reach out for you last time. We finally got you this time. The second half of the home and away legs here. I thought maybe we'd introduce you and if you could give a small bio and really how deep your roots might stretch into DC soccer.
Sure. So I have been in DC living since 2001. Before that, I grew up, I was born and raised in Philadelphia. There was no Philadelphia Union when I moved to DC. So I was a DC United fan when MLS launched in 96. I came down here to work at a radio station. And through those contacts, I really kind of made it a passion project of mine to raise the awareness of MLS and in turn the local team of DC United. This is a huge NFL Commanders area, then Capitals. So I wanted to bring soccer and put it on the map. DC at the time was right at the tail end of the golden age for the club. And for the last 20 years, it's been a bit of a struggle, but we keep moving on and we keep trying to, like all of us, just trying to raise the awareness of MLS and our local teams to get people maybe off their eyes from Europe and onto the American soccer scene. So that's kind of what we do. And that's what I do in my podcast, which is called Pitch Pass, as you mentioned earlier. And we focus on DC United things as well. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to raise awareness for MLS and all the teams in the league.
That's great. I mean, DC, as much as people will look at DC and not really see anything other than DC United, you've got the spirit there.
Correct.
You've got Loudoun United's not too far away. I've heard that Baltimore might get some representation in the lower leagues.
Our MLS Next Pro team, which we're the only American MLS team that doesn't have one, is rumored to be based in Baltimore when it launches, and we're hopeful that will launch next year. But yeah, that'll be Baltimore. And then we have DC Power, which is USLW. We're the only city in the country with both an NWSL and a USL championship or USL women's team. So that's really cool. All of them play at Audi Field. So and they all practice in the same spot in Loudoun. So cramped quarters, but a lot of soccer, which is great.
As someone who is really pushing for NWSL Cincinnati, we're very jealous to see that you have two teams represented by DC. Yeah. But let's also stretch it out a little bit. I mean, considering that you have deep roots within DC, are there any players that you would consider legends?
Well, look, we are one of the OGs, and we have, other than Los Angeles, we have the most stars on our crest, on our jersey than anybody else. So yeah, we definitely have legends. Marco Echeverri is a league legend and a DC United legend. Jaime Moreno is a league legend and a DC United legend. John Harkes is another DC United legend. Raul Diaz Arce is a legend. Those were all from the 90s. Jaime Moreno played into the 2010s. Just a fantastic career. It's been a little lean since then, but that's the hook. If you want to say anything about DC United, is it says it on all of their things. It's something they lean on, and that's tradition, and we have that in spades.
Yeah, and of course, we've had a few players come through this way as well. I mean, Junior Moreno, um,
Loved
uh,
him.
yeah, Yamil Assad, and
Loved him.
a certain guy who came in on Wednesday night.
So, it's funny. I didn't know if that was a subject that we could talk about, but since we're both exes, we've both been broken up with by Lucho Acosta. I was kind of curious to, he's very fiery, he's very passionate. He'll get you out of your seat, but then there's also another side, and you guys are now seeing that other side, and I guess my question to you is, because this is something that DC United fans always think about. We watch Lucho with you guys for many years in Cincinnati, MVP year. Now he's with Dallas, and we look at him longingly because that's what the team is missing is a creative number 10. But then we look at the other side of what's been coming out the last few days, and we go, maybe we don't miss that. It's like having an ex who is kind of crazy, but kind of awesome, and you just don't know what to do. So where are you at right now in the Lucho experience?
I mean, you did hear the boos quite a bit.
I
I
did.
think the general consensus, and I don't speak on behalf of the average FCC fan, but it definitely feels like it's a spurned lover. It's like we gave
Yeah.
you a lot, and for you to sort of spring this surprise announcement that you want to leave town, eh, at that moment, are we overreact because we're not? Is it us? Is it them? Is it somebody else? What? And I think a lot of people were thrown into complete and utter flux. They didn't know how to process it, and so you can only process it from everything that's coming out in the surface. And I think a lot of the news that had come out was more that it's not Lucho per se, but it's somebody else. But at the same time, we're like, yeah, but you're also, lighting a Bic lighter and throwing it behind you into a pile of oily rags. It's like, it would have been so much better if I think things had gone the way of we hear a little bit more about it, processed from both sides of it. And that way, where he could have gone out the Brandon Vasquez way. That's all I'm really saying. But instead, he's slow walking out like a movie with the explosion going off behind him, and I think that irked quite a few people in the end.
And we thought that the Lucho we got, so we got young Lucho, came over here at 21.
Right.
And so we could kind of understand the immaturity. The way that the DC United, for people who don't know, the DC United Lucho story ended was they had a fantastic half year with Lucho and Wayne Rooney, who just formed one of the most fantastic and fun combinations that you'll ever see in MLS. And then he kind of parlayed that and used Wayne Rooney's national or international renown to kind of make his way to PSG, which was a huge transfer.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, that the numbers were off, and the DC decided that's not going to work for us, and Lucho basically pouted until his contract ended. So we were looking at FCC Lucho and going, oh, this is what a mature, grown up, understands, seen some things. He's a better relationship for us now. And then he does the same exact thing to you guys. So it's like, well, has he learned anything? So we'll see. And it'll be interesting to see now what happens as Lucho starts to decline, how his mentality on the field will be affected by that. When he's not at the peak of his powers anymore and doesn't really have a say, like all-knowing say in everything, will he become a better teammate? Will he become a better person in the area? Because he should have had a statue in DC. He should have had a statue in Cincinnati, and I don't know if either will happen now because of the way he left. And I'm wondering if 50-year-old Lucho will have regrets about how either of those relationships ended.
Well, we'll see. We've had some pretty bad relationships with other members. Fernando Adi, when he left, he was a shell of himself. Before his tragic passing, Aaron Bupenza ended badly. So we've been through this before, and in the end, it hasn't really patched up. And I have a feeling that Lucho is going to be in the same boat, unfortunately.
Understood.
Yeah, but this is also not about Lucho. Boy, I'm sweating under the spotlight here. Let's look over at the DC United side of the
Yeah.
pitch right now. We're talking pitch pass right here. Really, we're almost at the halfway point. In fact, I think the 17th game of the season will be on Saturday for both teams. As far as like how the jury was at in the off season, you brought in Troy Lesesne, build as much of a roster as you could. But what areas, in your opinion, do you feel the team needed to address under this new tutelage?
Well, the point of last season, according to Troy Lesesne, who is the head coach of DC United, and Ali Mackay, who is the chief soccer officer for DC United, the point of last year was we have a lot of bad contracts from previous regimes. We need to let those expire and get rid of them. And then we can start putting together the team that we want. That's what we were told all throughout the 2024 season. So we had kind of high expectations in the off season of this past winter, and then hopefully they were going to continue into this year. That kind of hasn't happened, unfortunately, and that's where United fans are as we reach the halfway point. Is we're upset, we are disappointed, we're frustrated, as now we are like in year 8 or 9 of no playoffs, and even well past that in no playoff wins. And so, do we blame the owners? Do we blame the GM, the chief soccer officer, who's in charge of bringing in the talent, or do we blame the coach who has to take this roster and put a team on the field that is going to compete? There were some optimism coming out of last year. That optimism faded going into this year, and now it's just a general restlessness, if not a malaise, in the supporters, amongst the supporters of what we have as a team right now.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some talent, and unfortunately, some of it is injured at the moment. Christian Benteke, I believe, is going to miss another game. Dom Baji, I wish that he was going to be able to make his appearance at TQL Stadium. We loved him when he was here. Doesn't sound like he's going to make it either. But so far, the season has been a little bit of a stumbling block, to put it mildly. I'm at the moment 13th in the East. You did have some big wins against Red Bulls, Colorado, but also some big losses, a 6-1 loss against San Jose, and winless in the last 5. Just I know I'm painting it with dark strokes right now, but it is the reality of it.
Those are the correct strokes.
It is underperformance, but how much of this is the old roster not gelling with Lesesne's techniques?
I don't think we can say that anymore, unfortunately, because this roster, for the most part, other than Christian Benteke, who's the best player on the team and who's the team is built around, this is Troy and Ali's construction. This is the team that, for better or for worse, they want on the field. Could we have another DP? Yes, there's an open DP slot. Could we have another U22? Yes, there's an open U22 slot. They chose, or ownership chose, not to open up the checkbook to fill those slots this past offseason. So this is Troy's team. This is the roster that Troy and Ali constructed with Jason Levian's checkbook. So we really can't say that, like, I can't tell you that Troy gets a pass because the roster's not gelling, because this is the roster that he wanted, and these are the players that he eyeballed along with Ali Mackay's scouting. And so no, it's not a matter of the other players or not their guys that aren't fitting in. This is the team that they wanted. They went out and got a guy like Fidel Barajas on loan, whose loan ends next month. They got him in March and have barely played him since he's been here. That's a Troy acquisition, a Troy and Ali acquisition, and that's a Troy decision to not play him. So it can't be about the old roster not gelling. It's got to be about a talent deficit that this team has going into literally every game that they play. There is more talent looking across them, and that'll be the case on Saturday at TQL Stadium.
Yep. We'll talk a little bit more about the upcoming match. I do think that you are approaching us at just the right time. We are what cures a lot of ails. Atlanta had some issues, and Dallas have had issues, and we've helped them find their elixir. But also, you mentioned that Barajas's loan ends next month. Of course, the summer transfer window is coming up. Do you see any possible solutions walking through that door, or is it a matter of we need multiple windows to fix this?
They have been as clear as you can be in coach and GM speak about hinting that the summertime is what they are eyeballing. They have not come out and said, we're bringing in reinforcements this summer, but they have said like I said, in coach speak of, in the summer, we're looking to bring in fresh bodies. It's clear, but it's vague at the same time. So the hope is, and I think if you are the club's management and front office, the hope was we are going this first half of the season was our last kind of transfer window where we had to worry about salaries. Mateusz Klich is getting DP money from DC United to play for Atlanta United. He's on the books for DC as a DP. So you think to yourself, when they get to this summer is when they they really have no excuse anymore to say, we don't have money for this or we don't have slots for this. And so I think that their point was, let's get in a position where we can be playoff adjacent come the summer transfer window. We can bring in a marketable or a difference maker, and then that person can hopefully get us over the finish line and get us into the playoffs. But Jeff, as you know, these summer signings, it takes a while for them to get up to full fitness, get up to speed on the league, get up to speed on the travel. And usually it's the following season where they really start to take off. So even that theory or that mindset is flawed in its thinking, because you're asking a lot for a DP to come in July and then carry them to the playoffs over the course of 6 weeks.
Yeah. We've come across that issue quite a bit over the past two seasons, to be honest. Bringing in Aaron Bupenza and hoping that he gels right away. He did, and then tailed off. Last season, we decided to see if the loans would work. Kevin Kelsey comes in, Nico Giacchini comes in. Both of them loans, both of them faded out, and neither were there for the long run. I can exactly see, like, you need a DP to come in, and then you need to have that buffer zone where the team is going to have to play out of their minds to get 3 points and make it so that you're not fighting down the stretch with a DP that could or could not work.
Correct.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I totally see it. I'm glad we're seeing eye to eye on that one. We can definitely shake hands on that one. The last matchup that we had, just going straight into it, actually was a pretty close game. 1-0 Cincinnati over at DC's stomping grounds, but there also was no Evander. Miazga played a little bit at the end of the game to acclimate himself in there, but the stats also favored DC quite a bit in terms of possession and shots. What did you like outside of that? What did you like about the last matchup?
Well, Jeff, you brought up the 6-1 shellacking against San Jose in San Jose. That was the match before the Cincinnati match, and it marked kind of the closing of the book of that part of the season. A lot changed from San Jose to the first Cincinnati match, and as a DC United fan, there were some things that you could really go, okay, well, feels like they're riding the ship. And the biggest change, Jeff, is they moved from 4 at the back, which is what they played up until San Jose, to 3 at the back, which is what they've played moving forward and what you will see on Saturday in Cincinnati. That has kind of solidified the back line more. I don't want to say they're rock solid at the back now. They're not, but they're not shipping out 4 goals at a time. They had a hiccup against Philadelphia. That's a team that always hangs one on DC. So that was kind of an outlier. But if you've noticed the results, yes, they're winless in their last 5, but they're not losing all those matches, first off. And the losses are 1-0, 2-0. So they have really kind of steadied the ship, if not solidified the back, by moving from the 4 at the back to the 3. And then speaking defensively, that's also Kim, who is their U22 goalkeeper that they brought in the offseason, who was one of their big signings, was the starter up until that San Jose match. You
Right.
guys, for the first time, got to see Luis Barraza. He played at the back, and he has since solidified his grip on that job. And you will see him again on Saturday. And he has done a really, really good job. So, and not to the point where Kim is now rock solid, the backup keeper moving forward, at least until maybe Barraza loses his form. So that match that you saw was kind of the rebirth or a renewed sense of, okay, we're going to try to be a little more solid at the back. We've got a new keeper. We're going 3 at the back. And those changes, as you kind of pointed out, kind of worked. United has had the better of possession. I think Cincinnati was still more dangerous overall than United, but it was they made Cincinnati roll up their sleeves and have to go to work, which is more that they could say against San Jose the match before and Orlando the match before that. So those were my big takeaways from the first Cincinnati match, and a lot of those things that I am mentioning are carrying through to what you're going to see on Saturday.
Yeah, they're certainly making teams sweat it out.
Right.
This last game, a 1-1 draw against the Revolution. Progress. I think you can definitely see it with I guess Aaron Herrera, Lucas Bartlett, Kai Rolls. Has Rolls been? I understand he is the captain now. Has he even embraced that role?
Rolls has been a really good addition. Aaron Herrera, to me, and if you want to get a little scouting reportish for the next match, Herrera is one of the best right backs in MLS, and that's a full stop. David Schnegg is really good at left back, and now both of them in a 3-back system are providing all the width for both front and back for United. And if anybody or if anything is going to give Cincinnati trouble, that's where it's going to come from, is those two guys not being afraid. A lot of times they'll be the highest player forward, even above the strikers. So, and they like getting balls in the box. The problem is there's no Christian Benteke, so you're getting balls in the box without maybe the greatest aerial threat in MLS history there. But those two outside backs, those two wing backs will be a problem for Cincinnati on Saturday. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I definitely have Aaron Herrera, red ink. I've really circled him. I really think he'll be an impact player in this game. I also take a look at the likes of Gabriel Pirani, who scored the late equalizer. I really think he can be a threat for this team, especially if they need someone who's a leader on offense.
I don't know if I can agree with that. Pirani has been a bit frustrating because he'll score a goal like you saw against New England that will just get you out of your seat. And he did it at the end of last year. But when he starts, he's much less impactful than he is when he comes on for the last 15 or 10 minutes. The problem with Pirani is he's not that big. And so he's not that difficult to kind of get off the ball. And I'm not sure where you're at this week with your defenders. I know Hageland had a very bad injury this past weekend, but Miles Robinson and Miazga are going to be able to have their way physically with Pirani. And he is not a written in pen starter for Troy Lesesne. And if anything, he is a written in pen sub for Troy Lesesne.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. He was the threat that I was warned about at the last game, so we'll see if that changes.
And that was the thing, because he did so well at the end of last season in that kind of super sub role that everybody thought, oh, he's taken a step forward. And once we get into 2025, he's going to be a locked in starter and be that creative number 10 that DC United so desperately needs. He really wasn't. And then he got injured, and he's still kind of working his way back into the good graces and getting up to full fitness. Now, if we want to look at Brazilians on DC United that we can circle, it's got to be Peglo. He single-handedly, Benteke went out injured against New York Red Bulls early in the match. He single-handedly dragged United to a win with 2 phenomenal goals. And he is, if there is a creative force on DC, and that's debatable, he is the guy that's going to create danger on his own. Everybody else kind of needs somebody else. Schnegg, Herrera, they need to provide. Merle, who probably will start up front in the Benteke spot, is a young player who definitely will need service. Stroud is more of a complementary player. Kojima, more of a complementary player. If there's anybody who can create something out of nothing, who will probably start, it'll be Peglo. And then you get to players like Pirani and Leal, who can also create, but probably won't start.
Okay. Great scouting report ahead of it.
Thank you.
I do think that our defense has been weak. I'll put it that way. Part of it was Hagelin going down in the Atlanta game. Part of it is also Miazga getting the night off last night, really forcing Miles Robinson to sort of be that anchor in the middle. And then Alvis Powell and Gilberto Flores were both exposed a few times on defense. I'm hoping that the rest for Miazga brings him back for a full 90-minute fitness, and we have a better back line. It's easier said than done.
Right.
We had Miazga for a long time with the Atlanta game as well, and we still gave up 4 goals. So I think you're finding us at the right time, and that leads me, I think, into the final question that I'm going to have. Let's predict this game. All the people that are Patreons, if you go and become a Patreon, you'll be able to compete in our Growlers Cup, where you can pick the result this week. DC United coming into town. Feet to fire here, Gregory. What is your prediction?
Wow. I think DC did a really good job in the last match against Denki. We didn't bring that up when we touched on the last match, but Evander coming back is a whole different game, and that really makes me nervous because the creative players that Cincinnati had against them in the first match were dangerous, if not Denki. And now you add Evander to the mix as well. And, we didn't really talk about United's back line. Rouse is solid. Bartlett is solid, maybe less so. Garrison Tubbs is probably going to be the other center back, and he is a young center back who is still learning. And at this point, I think he's going to be good long term, but at this point, he's definitely somebody, if I'm Cincinnati, to go, okay, let's tack down his side and see if we can get some joy down there, especially with Herrera and Schnegg as forward, as I told you like to get. That's an area where you could exploit if you game plan that properly. I think, look, at home, you should be expecting 3 points against this DC United team. The talent is very much heavily weighed into your favor. I don't think there's anyone to trouble your back line enough to exploit what you're saying about the defensive maybe frailties that Cincinnati is having right now. So I'm going to say it's 2-0 to Cincinnati, especially at home.
I would have said 2-0, and then we had a 2-0 halftime lead and blew that. So I might have to say I'll say 3-1. I think you guys get a off of the goose egg.
Yeah.
But I also think that Gerardo Valenzuela, Dado,
yeah,
he had such a good game, a good few games. He scored what should have been the game winner last night. But I think they start him, and I think he once again finds the back of the net, just because he's sort of that forgotten second forward up there sometimes. Yeah. All the attention is going to be on Denke. All the attention is going to be on Evander, Luca Orshano to some extent. But I do think if Valenzuela is in there, he's going to be forgotten, and he will take advantage of that.
He was extremely impressive at Audi Field against DC, and he is somebody that I am nervous about because of how impressive he was. And for the reasons that you said, there's so much going to be attention focused on other players, and he had a lot of joy. He enjoyed playing against DC in DC. I can't imagine he would have any other experience playing at home now.
I think this is the breakout game. I'm not going to predict a brace from him, but I think that this is the game where you start seeing more starting appearances for Dado. And hopefully it lasts till the end of the season. I really think that there were 2 games that he played for the 2 team last season. Both of those were hat tricks. So he's got the talent, and with all the talent coming around him, I think he has a breakout season.
Would love to have him on DC.
Bring the money, bring the money bags. But it was great to have you on the show. We're coming down to our 30-minute stretch here. Yeah, Gregory, where can we find you online, and so we can interact more with Pitch Pass?
So I am still on Twitter or X, and I post episodes there. So that's at Pitch Pass. I do the commentary and the game stuff on Blue Sky, which is at Gregory Roche, if you want to follow me on Blue Sky. And then, of course, the podcast itself is Pitch Pass, and you can find that wherever you get your podcasts.
Excellent. I'm glad I got to sit down and catch you.
This was fun.
And I definitely want to make this trip to DC at some point. Every now and then we go there, spend a weekend out of it. If we are able to get like the springtime cherry blossom festival overlapping with an away game, that would be outstanding.
Yeah, because it was a little early for you guys. Oh no, it was a little late for you guys.
Yeah,
a little late for you guys this year. But I will tell you, DC in the spring is fantastic to visit. Obviously, it's the nation's capital. There's so much to see as an American if you're there. And then I will also say, Audi Field, it's not a sexy stadium like TQL, but it's a really great stadium to watch a match. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's the steepest stands in MLS. So you literally, no matter where you are, if you're at the last row and the top row of the stadium, it still feels like you're looking down and you can reach out and touch the players. It's a great place to watch a match, even if all the other stuff isn't so much fun.
As someone who went there and saw my former love, the Revolution, lose at RFK Stadium, I am embracing it. I would rather go there, and I would rather see a W than an L. That's for sure.
We're losing RFK this year. They're tearing it down this summer and fall. So that's one less thing you won't have to see when you come to DC next time. It won't be there.
I won't say it's an eyesore. I'll just say it weighs really heavily on the brain.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gregory. And for all those listening, get us on your favorite podcasting platform. Go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com and also Cincy Soccer Talk. Go to all your social media outlets. We're there. Once again, keep your kit clean. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again soon.